Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my presentation on students' opinions towards using online team annotation in writing lessons in Vietnamese classroom. This is me, the author. My name is Nguyễn Minh. I'm currently a lecturer of academic English and language in media at the University of Languages and International Studies, which is one part of the Vietnam National University in Hanoi. Today I'm very happy to be here and present on one of the studies that I've done recently. Now, firstly, let's have a look at the background of the study and let's talk about teaching writing for EFL learners. According to Harmer in 2006, he briefly introduced the history of teaching writing to EFL learners throughout the time. And like a long time ago, writing was just regarded as a support system, and it was not at all an important part of language learning. Instead, the focus at that time was on grammar and lexical items only, and writing was just like a tool to acquire better grammar at that time. But gradually, educators and teachers acknowledged the importance of the skills, and they started to think about the ways to improve students' writing. And in fact, there's been large body of research on improving writing, and we can easily find a lot of materials um, like everywhere, and the amount of research on writing is actually very large. According to Grab and Kaplan, as cited in Nguyen 2008, teaching writing is of paramount importance for academic learners. It's not just like some kind of importance, but of paramount importance. Um, Therefore, I think that the need for research about techniques to teach writing is really important, and we should pay attention to the techniques that helps the teacher to maximize the effectiveness of learning and to help students in the process of writing. And considering the teaching context and the fact that the pandemic COVID-19 is spreading crazily over the world, I also think of one possible way to help the teacher in their teaching practice, that is to use technology. And by technology I mean using some online tools, some web-based sites that allows teachers to give effective instruction, and students can cooperate together and to produce some mutual products that is good enough. And that's why I come up with the study. Um, well, let's have a look at the research question. In this research, I want to find the answer to the question, what are students' opinions towards using online team annotation in writing lessons in Vietnamese classroom? And in order to answer this question, I would like to look at students' preferences and their evaluation of the tools that are used in the research. Now let's move on to literature review. Teaching writing has long been following a very conventional way in which students get individual feedbacks from the teachers and they put them in a file, and they almost never get involved in the revision process. And teaching writing in that way is not effective because this is a one-way process in which teachers just play the role of the knowledge transmitter, and the students, they even though they receive feedbacks, no matter how detailed they are from the teachers, and they just never look back and revise and improve themselves, then the act of teaching is not that effective. Therefore, Harmer suggested that to encourage students to plan their writing, draft, and revise, it is suggested that teacher facilitates collaborate writing, which involves more than one student in the writing process and the finalized products. And it means that students should work together throughout the process of writing from the planning stage, like it means the pre-writing stage, to drafting, and even the last stage after writing, that is revising. Students should do it together and produce the um, mutual products. There also has been a large body of research on effectiveness of annotations in boosting students' memorizing ability, identifying problems, and making choices. And annotation skill is of great importance to the pre-writing stage and post-writing revision, which allows learners to highlight, underline, comment, and actively interact with the text. And as you can see in here, this um, has been shared among a lot of researchers since 1984 until recently. And speaking of group annotation, it is statistically proved to have positive influences on students' critical thinking, comprehension, and metacognitive skills. And this was concluded in a research by Johnson, Akibal, and Tennant Nabum in 2010 um, in a experimental research on students' critical thinking, comprehension, and metacognition. Now let's talk about the methodology. Um, in this part, I'm going to talk about the participants, the teaching materials, the data collection instruments, the procedure of data collection, and the procedure of data analysis. There are 36 university students involved in the studies. They are aged from 18 to 19. It means that they are first year and second year students at this university. All the students are English majored and they are willing to improve their writing skills. And according to the test we take at the beginning of the course, the level of proficiency of the student is from B2 minus a little bit to B2, and they want to improve their writing to reach C1 level, which is the required level of the school for the students to graduate from the school. About the teaching materials, all the materials are the C1 writing materials adapted from various sources and designed by the academic department in Project 9 Plus, a center that is well known for their, you know, teaching and preparing for the VSTEP test for the students. And by the way, the VSTEP test is the Vietnamese standardized test of English proficiency. It's like the IELTS for Vietnamese students, and it is designed by Vietnamese teachers and educators. Now let's come to the results and discussion. Regarding personal development, all participants reported progress in writing after the course. 100% were pleased to know new tools for their writing, and they was very glad that they participate in the study and they got to know very useful tools, online tools, and they think they will continue applying it in the future. 33.3% believe that group annotating in the pre-writing stage helped them prepare better for the writing, and 77.8% believed that online peer check helped improve their writings. So you can see that the percentage of those who believed in the effectiveness of group annotating, both in the pre-writing stage and the post-writing stage, was very high, and it means that the students were, you know, they believed that um, these tools and group annotation were actually very helpful for the writing skills. Speaking of the preferences of the students, um, more than 94% preferred group annotation to individual annotations, and more than 90% preferred online annotation rather than paper-based annotation. And one student said that when doing it online, I can easily highlight text and add or remove comments, and others can reply to my comments. Meanwhile, for the offline annotation, I don't have enough space for that. So that is very, it shows that online annotation in groups were preferred among students. 47.2% prefer Google Docs to Highlighter due to its friendliness and easy connection with other tools and platforms. A student said that we are more used to Google Docs, and I think it is better because we can easily import images in there and we can work easily on mobile apps. Um, More than 30% thought that both tools were good and they were happy to use both. Lastly, it is the evaluation of the tools. Um, this, let's talk about Google Docs first. The students said that it was very familiar to them, very user friendly, and the students can easily see the functions and the buttons and they can work on it easily. Um, Google Docs also allow users to work on different devices, so this is one of the biggest strengths. Um, what the students especially like about this tool is that it allows students to make suggestions for changes and allow immediate corrections. It means that when one suggested one thing to the documents, the author can decide whether to keep or to reject the changes. And if they want to keep the changes, then they just need to hit accept, and then the suggestions will automatically turn into the real writing, and that would save a lot of time typing it all over again. They like the fact that Google Docs integrates automatic word processing, and when they make some kind of mistakes like spelling mistakes and things, um, the the device will automatically notify them of the problems and probably change it for them, correct it for them. About the weaknesses, the students say that it is hard. It was hard to separate personal comments from others, and it was hard to see their personal ones, and yet it's hard to comment on the overlapping areas. Well, speaking of highlighter, students also pointed out some strengths and weaknesses of the tool. About the good points, they appreciated the fact that highlighters allowed users to separate and merge comments from different people, and it also showed the overlapping highlighted areas so that different users can see whether their areas of concern is like overlapping with others, and they can choose to further discuss on that or not. It is also very easy to use, even though it is a new tool that no one was exposed to before. Speaking of the weaknesses, some of the students complained that highlighter did not support any automatic correction, and students have to pay attention to the spelling, the wording themselves. And it was not accessible as Google Docs because there was no apps on mobiles, and it was not visually user friendly as in Google Docs. Now let's move on to the conclusion. Um, After the research, I concluded that group annotation can be of great benefit both before and after the writing, and unlike tools like Google Docs and Highlighter can be used due to their friendliness and great assistance in editing. About the limitations of the studies, there were a very small numbers of participants, only 36, and in order to produce more reliable results, the research should include more participants than that. The short training time was probably also problematic, and finally, uh, this kind of research should better be through experiments with pre-test and post-test to actually measure the students' improvement instead of just listening to their personal evaluation. Thank you for your attention.